He was just another customer, lost in his thoughts, until the waitress started singing. The song she chose was one he hadn't heard in years, and it was the song of the woman he had never stopped loving. The cozy little diner buzzed with quiet conversation, the smell of fresh coffee filling the air. Ethan Cross sat alone in the corner booth, stirring his drink absent-mindedly. He wasn't here for the food. He was here because this was the last place that still felt real. To the world, Ethan was a billionaire, a man who had built an empire, a name that carried weight. But tonight, sitting in this simple diner with worn-out booths and faded menus, he was just a man with memories he couldn't outrun. Then, a soft melody floated through the air. At first he barely noticed it. The quiet hum of someone singing from behind the counter. Gentle, haunting, familiar. Ethan's hand froze over his cup. That song. His heart pounded. It couldn't be. Slowly he turned toward the voice. A young waitress stood by the coffee machine, absent-mindedly wiping down the counter as she sang. Her voice carried through the diner like a whisper from the past. Ethan's throat tightened. It was the song, the one only one person had ever sung to him, the song of the woman he had lost. His chest ached as memories crashed over him, her laugh, her smile, the way she used to sing that song just for him. And now a complete stranger was singing it, with the same emotion, the same soul. Ethan's pulse raced as a thought struck him. This wasn't a coincidence. This waitress. Who was she? Ethan couldn't tear his eyes away from the waitress. Her voice carried the same raw emotion he had only ever heard from one person. His lost love. Olivia. The woman who had once been his entire world. The woman he had let slip away. His fingers curled around the edge of the table as the song continued, every note tightening the knot in his chest. How did she know this song? The waitress, a young woman, no older than 20, finished the last note, unaware of the effect she had just had on him. Then, as if sensing his stare, she turned. Her eyes locked onto his, and for a split second, Ethan saw something familiar. Something in the shape of her face, the way she carried herself. His breath hitched. Number it couldn't be. He forced himself to speak. That song, where did you learn it? The waitress hesitated, surprised by the question. Oh, it was my mum's favorite, she said with a soft smile. She used to sing it to me when I was little. Ethan's stomach dropped. He swallowed hard. Your mum, what was her name? She tilted her head slightly, confused by his sudden interest. But then she answered, Olivia. The room spun. Ethan barely managed to whisper, Olivia Carter. The waitress blinked in shock. You knew my mum? Ethan's hands trembled. Knew her. He had loved her. She had been the one. And now, standing in front of him was a young woman with her eyes, Olivia's daughter. His voice was barely a whisper. Who is your father? The waitress hesitated, then sighed. I don't know. My mom never told me. Ethan's heart pounded so hard it hurt. Because deep down, he already knew the answer. He wasn't just looking at Olivia's daughter, he was looking at his own. Ethan felt the world tilt beneath him. His own daughter. The young waitress. His daughter. Stood before him, completely unaware of the storm raging inside him. She frowned slightly. Sir, are you okay? Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came. How could he tell her? His mind raced back to Olivia. Had she known? Had she kept this from him on purpose? He had searched for her years ago, hoping to fix what was broken between them, but she had disappeared. Now, standing in front of him was the piece of his past he never knew existed. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. Your mom, Olivia, what happened to her? The waitress, his daughter, lowered her gaze. She passed away a few years ago. Ethan's chest tightened. Olivia was gone. Guilt, regret. 1,000 emotions hit him at once. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough. She was an incredible person." The waitress gave him a small, sad smile. "Yeah, she was." Ethan hesitated, his fingers tightening around his coffee cup. This was his chance. He had missed Olivia, but he couldn't miss this. He looked at her, really looked at her. The resemblance was undeniable now. Her eyes, her expressions, she was his. But how did he tell her? How did he explain decades of absence, not even knowing she existed? His voice was barely a whisper. "What's your name?" She smiled softly. "Lily." Ethan swallowed the lump in his throat. His daughter's name was Lily. He had missed her entire life. But as he sat there, staring at her, he made a silent promise. He wouldn't miss another second. Ethan sat there, staring at Lily, his heart pounding. His daughter. He had spent years chasing success, building an empire, believing he had lost Olivia forever. But he had never imagined that he had left behind something even greater. Someone. Lily. She shifted under his gaze, clearly confused. "Sir, are you sure you're okay?" Ethan forced himself to speak. He couldn't waste this moment. "Lily, your mum never told you anything about your father?" She shook her head. "Number I asked a few times, but she'd always just smile and say, 'Some stories are meant to be told when the time is right.'" She gave a small, sad chuckle. "Guess that time never came." Ethan's throat tightened. She had been waiting for him, and now, here he was, decades too late. But maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to make things right. He took a deep breath. "Lily, I think there's something you need to know." She frowned. "What do you mean?" Ethan hesitated for only a second. Then he said the words that would change both of their lives forever. "I'm your father." The diner seemed to go silent. Lily blinked, staring at him as if he had just spoken a different language. What?" Ethan leaned forward, his voice thick with emotion. "Olivia, your mother. We were together once, a long time ago." He swallowed hard. "I never knew she was pregnant. If I had, Lily, I swear I never would have left." Lily's breath hitched. "You're saying—" Ethan nodded. "Yes, I think I'm your father." Silence. Lily looked down, her fingers gripping the edge of her notepad. Her entire world had just shifted. Finally she whispered, "You're serious?" Ethan's voice broke. "More than anything." Lily exhaled shakily. "I don't know what to say." Ethan gave her a small, hopeful smile. "You don't have to say anything, just let me prove it to you." Lily looked up at him, uncertainty and curiosity flickering in her eyes. For the first time in her life, she had a chance to know the truth. And for the first time in his, Ethan had a chance to fix what he never even knew was broken. Neither of them knew where this road would lead. But one thing was certain. This was only the beginning. Lily stared at Ethan, searching his face for any sign that this was some kind of cruel joke. But there was none. Just raw emotion, honesty, and something else. Regret. She swallowed hard. "You really think you're my father?" Ethan nodded, his voice thick. "I don't just think so, Lily. I know." Lily exhaled sharply, gripping the edge of the counter. This was too much. She had gone her whole life believing she was just another forgotten kid with no past to uncover. And now, a millionaire was sitting in front of her, claiming to be her father. "You're telling me my whole life has been a lie?" she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "No, sweetheart. Your life is yours. But there's a part of it you never got to know, and neither did I." Lily's heart pounded. "If my mom never told you, then she didn't want you to know." The words stung, but Ethan didn't flinch. "Maybe she thought she was protecting you. Maybe she thought I wouldn't care." He took a shaky breath. "But she was wrong." Lily let out a bitter chuckle. So what now? You just show up and expect me to, what, call you Dad? Ethan's expression softened. I don't expect anything. I just want a chance. Lily looked away, her mind racing. A chance. She had spent years watching other kids with their fathers, wondering what it would have been like. She had stopped wishing for one a long time ago, but now, he was sitting right here. A million questions swirled in her mind, but only one came out. Why would a man like you care about someone like me? She asked quietly. Ethan's heart clenched. Because I lost the woman I loved, and I never even knew I had a daughter to love too. Lily's eyes glistened. She wanted to run. She wanted to believe it was a mistake. But deep down, she knew it wasn't. Finally, after what felt like forever, she whispered, I don't know how to do this. Ethan gave her a soft smile. Me neither, but maybe we can figure it out together. Lily looked at him, her walls cracking just a little. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the worst thing that could happen. Maybe this was the beginning of something she never thought she'd have.